All right, so exercise 9 is actually one of my favorites because it really shows us that what we're moving into, which is a particularly difficult section, is still intuitive at the heart of it. So we have a new technique called balloon angioplasty claiming to open heart valves and vessels. As always, you can feel free to try this one on your own before we do it together. You should be able to tackle everything in this problem already. All right, so a balloon is inserted via a catheter, is inflated, opening, blah, 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 thus no surgery is required. A surgical technique has a 60% success rate. So they just gave us a percentage. There's nothing in this sentence to imply that that percentage is not the real thing. And they've also made a point to say that this is a surgical technique, when previously we were talking about this balloon thing, which had no surgery required. So we've got these two different ideas. We have a surgery, which we can say has a P of 0.6, and then there's some babbling about a balloon that we have no information about yet. And then we see a preliminary clinical trials conducted to test the balloon. Okay, here's the balloon again. 50 people with clogged vessels are given the balloons, and 39 respond to these techniques. So it appears we have a sample size and a number of people, or number of successes for that sample. All right. So A says calculate a confidence interval for P, the proportion. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to our formula sheet. We're going to go, I want a confidence interval. I want it for a proportion. That means I'm here, and I'm just going to copy that formula down, because that will get me 2 of 5 points if this were a question on the exam. So P hat plus or minus Z star square root P hat Q hat all over N. Now, this question stem is missing a little bit of information. Which proportion are we trying to do an interval for? But this information, it can't be the surgery, because we just don't have enough information for that. And they presented that 60% as if it was the true value. So we're going to be doing this to figure out the success rate for the balloon technique. So what we would do first, of course, is calculate our P hat if we're doing this by hand. So we get 0.78, I hope. Plus or minus, our Z for 90% is 1.645. Remember, I'll bring it back up. We're getting this from that table. 90% is 1.645. And then P hat again. Q hat is just 1 minus P hat. So 1 minus 0.78 would give you 0.22 all over our N of 50. And if you're doing this by hand, remember, you're going to do that margin of error first. So you do the 1.645 times our standard error of 0.78 times 0.22 divided by 50. So you get out that 0.0964. And then I would add and subtract that. So 0.78 minus 0.0964 and 0.78 plus 0.064. So you get 68.36 and 87.64. There's our confidence interval. And remember, this is even easier if you have the graphing calculator, because you can just do all of this in one proportion Z interval. So I could have done this all by going to stat, over to tests, and then choosing one proportion Z interval and just entering all of my information. We had 39 successes out of 50 trials, and we were doing a 90% confidence interval. So we get the same thing out, 0.6836, 0.8764. So it doesn't change our values, just how we present it. So if you did this using the calculator instead, all I ask is that you then give me the X and the N, and you just show me that what you plugged into that calculator shortcut. So next thing we're going to do is interpret the interval. That is the we are 90% confident that the true population proportion, I'm lazy, I didn't want to write population, of, and then we need to talk about what our success was. So this was people responding to the balloon technique, of patients who respond to the balloon technique is between, oops, I can't write. Is between 68.6836 and 8764. And so here's the big takeaway, or the piece that I said that we're basically going to be doing in the next section, and is pretty intuitive. C here says, do you think there's evidence for the superiority of the balloon technique over surgery? So we just said that we think the balloon success rate is 68 to 88% successful, right? And we know surgery success rate, they told us that that was 60% successful. So hopefully we're sitting there going, aha, yes, oops, that is not words. Yes, the surgery is only 60% successful, while we are 90% confident that the balloon is 68 to 88% successful. So that's the piece that's very similar to what we're going to be doing in 6.3.